Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart. Best there is, best there was, and best there ever will be. And you're listening to the Smacked Raw podcast.
Hey folks, welcome to the SmackDown Raw podcast, your one-stop shop for all your WWE, AEW, and NXT recaps, reviews, and pay-per-view predictions. Like always, it's Kyle here today, joined by Sebastian. What's going on, Seb?
Dude, going back in time.
Going back, that's right. We're doing another one of our throwback episodes in spirit of the upcoming pay-per-view Survivor Series, which we're going to see Raw taking on SmackDown and taking on the newcomers NXT for their first time making an appearance on main roster pay-per-views. We decided to go back and cover another classic Survivor Series. We are covering Survivor Series from '02, man. That's right, all the way back '02 when we had Nickelback, Ashanti, and Linkin Park on the billboards, you know, and
17 years today.
Man, yeah. Attack of the Clones was in movie theaters. Matrix Reloaded. Yeah, man, back in the day. Oh boy, I remember those.
LeBron wasn't even in the NBA.
That's right, man. But so the big thing that this Survivor Series is really well known for is we saw the debut of the Elimination Chamber before it was a pay-per-view event. We got the first one, man, which was oddly very good. It's hard to be first, and knock it out the park, but they, despite Triple H almost getting killed in the ring, the match went off almost without a hitch. There was a couple spots here and there, but we'll get into it. But if you guys are first-time listeners, thank you for joining us. You can find us on Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, and Google Play Music. We're also over there on YouTube as well. Don't forget to jump over there, like and subscribe. We're always chasing a custom URL, so happy to take on everybody. And thank you for joining us, man. Also, if you want to hit us up sometime, go ahead, get down in the comments. We're very active there. Or you can hit us up on Twitter at SmackDrawPod, myself at The Kai Tai Show. And Sebastian, you're at, WrestlingFan_32?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. All right. Seb, I got to tell you, man, these throwback pay-per-views are pretty fun.
They are.
Remind me of a more simple time. Arguably a better time. You know what I've noticed about it is the lack of polish. Like, they feel more gritty. They don't feel so corporate and so cookie cutter from each other. Like, everything feels more organic. The shows that we've been watching, and that's great because WWE, they're so tied up with sponsors nowadays, the stock exchange, foreign governments. Like, it's like WWE is many entities now, whereas back then it was its own thing, and they didn't really have to answer to a whole ton of people. And I don't know, it does feel different, it really does.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Had more unscripted stuff. Which if you look in the roster back then, just in the Elimination Chamber alone, you have Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chris Jericho, Booker T, that can, for a fight, go out there and handle a promo. And they figured that out because they gave him a chance, and that's something that you don't really see today.
Yeah, you don't see it as much today as we would like. But we're here to run down the card, go over some good old memories that we had. We're going to try and change things up a little bit today. We'll see how it goes. We're not going to do so much play-by-play. We're just going to, kind of gloss over the match, who was in it, the result, and see if we can't jog some memories for those. Of course, if the big spots, we're going to obviously mention those as well. So we might as well get right into it. The opening match was the triple threat table elimination match. So normally up until this point,
It was a six-man.
6-man. Oh, thank you. Yeah, 6-man table elimination match. We saw the teams of Bubba Ray Dudley, Spike Dudley, and Jeff Hardy, because this was also the same year of the WWE draft. So Devon was, of course, drafted over to SmackDown, which explains why Jeff Hardy was in there with the 2 other Dudley boys. They were taking on, 3-minute warning. You had the late Rosie, right? Yeah, late Rosie with Jamal also and their manager / wrestler, Rico. And so this was a different tables match because traditionally, it was the first team to have someone go through the table. That was it. In this case, all 3 members of a team had to be put through tables at some point in the match. So we'll go ahead. I'll start out right and say it, man. This showed the weaker side. The memories we try to repress of Jeff Hardy, because he was kind of like a botch-filled mess this whole match, man. He missed a lot of spots. Did you get the version where you hear Rico yelling at him?
No, I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, so I believe WWE cut it from the network. But at one point, Jeff Hardy was way out of position, and Rico was setting up for a moonsault to put, I believe, Bubba through a table. And, Jeff was so out of position, Rico had to literally yell at him. Like, Jeff Hardy, goddamn it. And, the whole crowd heard it, everything. Jeff was on the opposite side of the ring. So, you know how, if someone's on the top rope, you have to hit their foot? And they usually will crotch him. Jeff had to think on the fly. On the opposite side of the ring, he just, sheepishly grabbed the ropes and just started shaking the ropes from the opposite side of the ring, which caused Rico to finally lose his balance. Jeff Hardy was not on form. But the match was good, though, right?
Yeah. It was a really fun opener, honestly.
Yeah, if you're not last, you want to be first, man. We saw the faces win. Bubba Ray, Spike, and Jeff won after we got a return from Devon Dudley. Jamal and Rosie were both eliminated, but they chose to stick around and beat everyone down. SmackDown's Devon Dudley came to reunite with Bubba Ray. At this time, they were still going by half brother. And they 3D'd Rico through the table. Hot start, man. Had that crowd hyped. Had me hyped, man. Anything else about this match stand out to you?
Just some credit. I really liked Spike's elimination. He was going for the Dudley Dog. And when he came off for it, Jamal and Rosie just caught him and put him through head first for a table. I thought that was kind of unique.
Yeah, it was like a double team, reverse Alabama slam.
Yeah,
that was gnarly.
Jeff did hit that swanton through the hallway or exit area
off the entrance. He's hit that several times in MSG. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention the event was held in New York at a Madison Square Garden. A couple other things too. It was the 16th Survivor Series. We already said that the draft took place early in the year, and this was also 1 year after the WCW invasion. So a lot of WCW guys were getting their first taste of WWE pay-per-views. But yeah, like you said, he hit that swanton off the entranceway in MSG.
Well, it wasn't the entranceway; it was the opposite.
The opposite.
Yeah, it wasn't where it came out. Like in MSG, you got the entranceway, and then on the other side of the ring, there's pretty much like an exit way, I guess you'd say. And that's the side he hit it off of, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. No. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Because otherwise you would have saw the Survivor Series decorations, logos. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you're right. I know what you're talking about now.
And another spot that jumped out when Jeff was running off the security barrier, and he jumps off, and Rosie, I don't know if he was just holding the table up or if he threw the table at Jeff or what, but he went through a table off that. I thought that was kind of cool. And
they had to say, it didn't count because he wasn't put through the table.
Yeah, they had to cover for it, but either way, I thought it was just kind of unique. You didn't really see anything like that I can think of.
No, because it was more car crash stuff back then, Everybody is very choreographed nowadays and polished for the most part.
Yeah, it was creative. A real good match. Got the crowd hot, and when D-Bone came out to make the save, of course, the crowd's going to be hot.
Oh yeah,
It,
MSG blew up.
it's
Man.
a good choice. Good choice to be an opening match.
Yeah, because you got to. So not only do you have like a classic hardcore style match, car crash style, but you also get a big return slash reuniting of a loved tag team. So it was just the perfect elements that you were able to pretty much completely overlook the botched spots. Yeah, it was a great match. Following up, one half of J&J Security, Jamie Noble in tow with Nydia. Do you remember that angle with them when Jamie Noble and Nydia? She had just won, I think, season 2 of Tough Enough, I want to say.
Are you talking about the blind angle when Tajiri's player nuts?
No, go ahead, walk me through that.
Tajiri just got her in the eyes with a mist, and she faked being blind for, I don't know, months. And Noble just took advantage of her, and eventually he got his comeuppance, I guess, by Nydia, and I think she cost them the Cruiserweight title or something like that. Whenever the payoff was,
I do remember the angle you're talking about now. I was actually just more referring. Do you remember their character? Like they were essentially their characters were trailer trash.
Trailer park. Yeah.
Trailer trash, trailer park. No offense to anybody, by the way, if you live in a trailer. I lived in several trailers in my life, but I mean that's kind of the characters they were portraying, and they would always come out like grossly making out, and. Oh, it's so uncomfortable to watch it. I chuckled when I saw the entrance because they weren't all over each other in the entrance, but their video package was just them like sucking face. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, they took on Billy Kidman, man. One of my favorite wrestlers from WCW back in the day, and they really brought him to add some weight to their growing cruiserweight division, which isn't it weird? Isn't it nuts looking at what like the fast pace and high flying style was back then compared to the current crop of high flyers that we got now?
Yeah, back in the day, I mean, which I guess it's kind of still the same. Anybody small would be called a cruiserweight. It wasn't just the athletes. You kind of had like the Jamie Noble, he was a very technical.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say technical, but he's a more technical kind of guy. But now, if you watch 205, you had Drew Gulak, and there's a couple. But now, for the most part, it's all athletic guys.
And not to mention, the current crop of cruiserweights, for the most part, most of them are so much more polished. Like it's amazing because back in the day, and granted, this match still holds up as impressive. But I remember at one point, I think it was King. I believe these guys are Raw superstars because they did the same thing where they switched from commentary tables depending on the match that's taking place.
No, it was SmackDown.
Okay, so they're SmackDown. So you had Michael Cole and Taz on commentary. Yeah.
Because Taz, I don't know what it is about Jamie Noble, but Taz always cracks me up. So that's how I remember that.
Okay. But they were saying Jamie Noble's shooting star press is like the most impressive move in all of WWE. And a shooting star press nowadays isn't even a finisher. Like a guy can't even pick up a victory with a shooting star press.
Billy Kidman's shooting star press was so good, though. Like, I wouldn't even be mad if it was a finisher today. Like, it was so pretty. Like, I'm a big Kidman.
Yeah, I remember when him and Rey Mysterio were a tag team in WCW. I'm going to show my age a little bit. But
I had a little run at WWE, too. A pay-per-view I would actually love to cover sometime for us. 03 No Mercy. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it. They faced the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. And absolutely had a gem of a match.
Hell yeah, that's such a contrasted enough style. You said, what, No Mercy 03?
Yeah, I mean, it was a gem of a match.
After Dynamite last week, did you want to go back and watch Fully Loaded?
Oh, no.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
JR kept saying they were kept referring to Full Gear, but JR every time would say Fully Loaded.
Yeah.
Poor
It was
fuck.
all over Twitter. The world noticed, JR.
Yeah.
The world noticed.
It's the problem with internet, man. But yeah, man, this match was cool, man. A lot of people say this is like the underrated match on the card, which I mean, it's easy to see because a couple, especially the final two matches of the night, were just banger of matches, man. They were really good. But yeah, you saw Billy Kidman, who apparently he had Noble's number. He had been beating him several times. I think like on
He also debuted music on the show.
What do you mean debuted?
Commentary. He had a new theme song on this show. The commentary brought it up, saying that the theme music was new, and he debuted just that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But Kidman was able to go ahead and get that belt with the said Shooting Star Press. And like I said, in an underrated but good match, in my opinion.
It was a good match. Just things that jumped out. Noble accidentally took Nadia out. A real good sequence, actually. This was just a whole big old sequence. Noble accidentally took Nadia out. Got caught for a powerbomb, and then Noble gets up and hits a Tiger Driver. Moments later, you had a avalanche facebuster. Kidman hit on Noble. Noble countered and hit an avalanche DDT off the top turnbuckle before the Shooting Star. I mean, it was just a real good match. A lot of high spots.
Yeah, and of course, Noble would famously go on to resurface as part of J&J Security, helping protect Seth Rollins on his heel title run, arguably the best Seth Rollins that we've gotten.
It's real interesting to go back and look too, watching this match. And wasn't it Noble that, I don't know if you remember this or not, when Kidman botched the Shooting Star and
landed on knocked out Noble? Yeah,
that's why he stopped using it. I think it was Noble, wasn't it?
I think so too. Yeah, I think it was. Let me see here. Yeah, what did Billy Kidman end up going? Billy Kidman's still bouncing around, ain't he?
I think I want to say he's not a producer, but he might have a wrestling school or something. Like, he's more of a teacher coach, I think.
Says, no, it was Chavo.
Oh, was it Chavo? I could have swore it was Noble.
Yeah, no, he knocked out Chavo Guerrero with a botched Shooting Star Press. Yeah, see, that was the thing about Noble is his Shooting Star Press was gorgeous, but it was when he hit it.
He's a producer. Yeah, I was wrong. He's actually a producer for WWE. Right?
Oh, nice. Okay, so both these guys still have active roles with the company, because I believe Jamie Noble's still part of the company as well, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But yeah, that was the thing about Kidman, though, man, was his Shooting Star Press was gorgeous, but when he hit it, you can find a whole plethora of compilations of him botching that move, which I see why, because compared to like the current crop of guys that do Shooting Star Presses, he didn't really jump out like too far. Like a lot of guys can get a lot of forward momentum when they do them nowadays. But Kidman's was really vertical, and he come down fairly close into that corner a lot of the time, if I remember correctly. If I remember,
I mean, you're right. That's absolutely what happened to Chavo.
Yeah, but it was decent, man. It was decent, and like I said, both these guys. Here we are. 17 years later, still contributing to the product here in WWE.
Yeah, it wasn't a 5-star match or anything close to 5 stars, but like when you go back and watch pay-per-views, like before a match starts, you're gonna be a lot of times on me when I go back, not for throwbacks because I watch the whole thing, but when I go back for fun, if there's a match, I'm like, I skip it. And I could see where some people would kind of feel it for these two, if you're not into cruiserweight stuff. But yeah, I recommend checking it out. Don't hit that skip button.
That's right, man. That's right. Following this match was the second title match. Well, I mean, every match is title matches from here on out. But we had the women's championship match taking place. We had current champion Trish Stratus taking on Victoria. Man, I forgot all about Victoria. because it's like Victoria's character, I think, often gets people mistake her and Ivory for each other. I want to say, because they were both very brash, and I don't know. Like I had memories of Victoria that I just thought were Ivory. It's kind of funny. I don't know if anyone else ever had that issue, but yeah. But these two had a fun little hardcore match. Probably the low light of the whole night. I think it had like a limp finish, is really what it was, or anticlimactic finish. Huh? Yeah, a snap suplex. Yeah, exactly. Even the commentators struggled to put over the finish. I think they went along the lines like sometimes that's all it takes.
But if you're listening to this and you're like, it's just typical, back in the day, 2-minute quick finish. They actually got time. We're not saying that, they went in there and worked for 2 minutes. They actually got a lot of time and got a lot of stuff in.
Yeah.
But
I remember JR, I think it was Victoria broke out a broom, and JR says, I don't know if she's going to use that as a weapon or ride it. It was like, come on, JR. Come on, man.
And King dropped a couple little things too, and Trish brought out the ironing board or whatever.
Yeah, they were still playing on the women stereotype. I mean, so back then though, you had Trish, you had Lita, Victoria, Ivory, Molly Holly. If I'm forgetting anybody, I do apologize. I think at this point China was not doing nothing with the company.
Gail Kim, I want to say, was there at this time.
Maybe, yeah. But they were kind of like the cornerstones of the actual women wrestling instead of the gimmick. Not that they didn't take part in them, but the gimmick like bra and panties and the more derogatory sideshow style matches where these women, they were laying the foundation of women actually entertaining the fans with their ability to wrestle. Of course, WWE back then they couldn't help themselves at time, to go ahead and degrade them, and it's kind of cringy nowadays, but you can really see though when you see a lot of these women do their matches where it really started, because a lot of focus is on the whole Stephanie McMahon and the women's revolution. But the women's revolution truly started in the late 90s, early 2000s. It just, unfortunately, took a huge step backwards for a couple years before it picked up again. But, we saw Victoria win after blasting Trish with a fire extinguisher and then going ahead and giving her a snap suplex. That's all it was. And that was enough to put away Trish. The crazy thing here, though, that was the first time a women's title change happened in MSG in 17 years, man.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. The last women's title to change hands at MSG took place before the first Survivor Series.
It's cool stat.
Yeah, it's total Wikipedia, man. I'd like to take credit for that piece of knowledge, but no. It was just when I was doing my research. I was like, oh, that's a cool little tidbit.
But, this match, like I said, it got time. They hit each other with trash lids a few times. I remember one time Victoria swung for the fences and nailed Trish. There's a mirror, I believe.
Oh, yeah, so that was the angle, too, was Victoria was playing like a psychopath. Yeah, they showed like hidden camera footage before the match began of her doing is that the Snow White, like mirror mirror on the wall.
Yeah, and I want to say what started this. I might be wrong because I was 9 years old at this time.
Yeah,
I think maybe a month or so before she got a bruised face or something by Trish, I want to say. Or maybe a broken nose or something. I think that's kind of what started the whole...
She wanted to disfigure Trish.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what started the angle. Like I said, I was 9 years old. I might be wrong, but I'm 90% sure it's what happened.
Yeah. The segment before the match was her asking the mirror, like, who the fairest was. And obviously it's just her. There's no like special effects. And she's like, "What do you mean, Trish?" And she freaks out on the mirror and destroys it. And, yeah, yeah. Like I said, it was a Victoria and Ivory had similar characters from time to time, and they both were very like aggressive and loose cannons. And I forgot all about Victoria, man. I can't believe how much I forgot. I think she's a Hall of Famer. I want to say. I know Ivory is, because Ivory had that Hall of Fame speech that went on for ages. Oh my gosh.
Forever
Yes.
and ever and ever. Real, which I mean, it's not really highlight or anything, but I remember at the start of this match, when the broom came out.
Yeah,
you referenced the broom.
Victoria was part of the 2018 class. Like, she just got inducted.
I couldn't remember for sure if she did or not.
Yeah.
But I remember Victoria had the broom and Trish did like a monkey flip, and they both had their hand on a broom. And then Victoria bridged back and was like just on top of Trish, choking her out with the broom. I thought that was a real creative thing.
Yeah. That was a good one. That was a good spot. So following the match, we knew they hyped up this match so much, but if you look at its place in the card, it's like WWE knew it wasn't going to be a big match. Like, it wasn't going to be a technical masterclass. But we had Brock Lesnar taking on the Big Show. Brock Lesnar is current WWE champion, by the way. So this is the main title on the show. And Brock is champ for SmackDown, I want to say. Yeah, he's SmackDown's champion. That's right. And so the story going into this is Big Show at this point, this is pre-Big Show being comedy angle, being kind of pushover. He's still viewed as a threat, and he was getting a huge push going into this match. He absolutely demolished The Undertaker. I guess he beat him in quick fashion. And then he also injured Brock Lesnar's ribs. So Brock Lesnar was going into this both kayfabe and for real injured into the match, I learned. But
he just was traded from Raw as well.
Yeah. I think the real star here that we forgot about was Paul Heyman's ponytail. I forgot how much I missed that thing. But yeah, Paul Heyman, they really built up the Big Show, and they really built Brock Lesnar as an underdog. Paul Heyman was going on saying that you can't manhandle him, you can't get him up for an F5. You hear all these sound bites of Paul Heyman essentially telling Brock he's going to lose going into this match. Well, Brock ends up overcoming the odds. He does get Big Show up for an F5. He drops him. Paul Heyman turns on Brock for the first time, I want to say.
Yeah.
This is the first time Paul Heyman turned on him, and helps the Big Show secure a victory. Big Show comes back into the ring, chokeslams Brock onto a chair, and Big Show would pick up the victory and become the WWE champion. Which it was crazy seeing Show pushed as such a strong threat. I forgot, he's been watered down so much through the years. And it was at one point you're like, dude, Show is supposed to be the most badass guy on the roster. Look at him. They were billing him as 500 pounds, and he looked young too. He looked really young and as nimble as he could be back then,
It didn't last long, though.
Hell no. Of course not. It's still the Big Show and Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? They're not going to put on it's just a car crash.
I can't remember when he lost the belt, but even at the Royal Rumble, the next Royal Rumble 2 months ahead, he already had lost the belt because he was in the Royal Rumble match that Brock won. So I guess the next pay-per-view after, I can't remember what it was back in the day. Armageddon, maybe. I think that was their December pay-per-view.
Yeah, maybe. I have a hard time remembering too back then, because I wasn't able to order the pay-per-views back then. Like, as a kid, my mom wouldn't do it. They would get me like big pay-per-views though, on occasion.
I never ordered them. They were the only pay-per-view I was able to order was WrestleMania 20.
Okay.
The rest of them I just watched on DVD or whatever.
Yeah,
but this was actually before I even was watching wrestling. I didn't start watching to I want to say July '03, because it was during the build-up of that Elimination Chamber, the one that Goldberg was in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was before I even started watching.
I want to say I started. I know I started in the 90s. Like, because I remember NWO was a thing, and I was actually kind of a WCW fan, which was short-lived. It was very short-lived. But it was definitely Attitude Era, though. Stone Cold and The Rock were already doing their thing. And NWO was very close to transitioning to the Wolfpack and creating the Wolfpack. And that's about the time I started watching wrestling.
Yeah, Goldberg got me in, man. I remember when Triple H, it was not long after I started. Like I said, Triple H put the bounty on Goldberg's head, man, and I hated Triple H. Like, So,
Yeah,
little 9-year-old boy yelling at the TV.
Triple H is a person that you grew to appreciate over time. You know? Yeah, he was.
As long as they don't put bounties on my favorite's head, man, it's cool.
Following this is arguably the match of the night, man. It's up there between this and the main event. But we had the three-way tag match, Los Guerreros. You had the late Eddie Guerrero teaming with Chavo. You had Kurt Angle teaming with Chris Benoit. And then also you had, oh God, who was the other team?
Edge and Rey Mysterio.
Edge and Rey Mysterio. Thank you. Thank you so much.
The champs coming in.
Yeah, man. They were the champs coming in. This match was just very creative, fast-paced match. Everybody's characters and dynamic was very well told in the match. You had Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit butting heads over kind of like a power struggle of who the standout was in the team, and just like the strange Bedfellows tag team. You had the Guerreros, who are being obviously like sly and smart and refusing to tag into the match because logically, why would you? And then Edge and Rey Mysterio, even though not a normal tag team, worked very cohesively. They were looking out for each other throughout the whole match. And they ended up actually on the wrong side. Edge especially ended up on the wrong side of a lot of beatings.
This is the group that a lot of people refer to going back in time as the SmackDown
Six. Yeah. All six of you? Yeah, because, Benoit, I'm trying to think if... Yeah, it really is, isn't it? It is the SmackDown 6, isn't it? But, no, the match was good. It was weird seeing Benoit. It's always weird seeing Benoit on TV. And I hate it, man, because, like, he was, like, my favorite wrestler. Especially around this time. Like, around, like, 02, 03. I was all about Benoit and Jeff Hardy, man.
Just real quick, it was killing me not to know, so I did go back. Big Show did lose it a month later at Armageddon to Kurt Angle. So
okay, so you called that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you called that. All right. Yeah, because that's the following year. 03 is when Kurt and Brock had their match at WrestleMania. That's right. Damn, Kurt Angle went from this tag match to champion in the span of a month. Look at that.
I guess he proved Benoit wrong.
He did too.
He was the captain.
Yeah, he was the captain. Yeah, because they won a trophy, right? What they do? They won a tournament or something?
Yeah, I think they did win a trophy.
Yeah. But oh man, this match was really good. The Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit were eliminated first after Benoit mistook Kurt Angle for hitting him with a title belt that Chavo Guerrero had actually hit him with. Did the whole classic spot of he hit a guy, everybody was distracted, he threw the belt to Kurt Angle, and just when everyone was starting to pay attention, Benoit turns around. So they get in each other's face. And then ultimately, after Edge gets beat down for the majority of the time, Rey Mysterio gets involved in the match, tries to get a comeback, but he ends up getting tapped out, actually. Forgot that Eddie Guerrero was using submissions.
After another belt shot.
After another belt shot, that is correct. Yeah, but he ended up tapping him. What's the name of that move? The lasso from El Paso is what it was called. Yeah, man. It was a hell of a match. Like, I almost say this is the match to watch out of the whole show. I mean, granted, you'd like to see the first Elimination Chamber match, but I don't know, man. I think this one takes it for me.
Man, it was just so. And if you look at the guys in there, I mean, it was anything. I don't really, and it's sad because like Paige versus Pac back at the pay-per-view, I remember we made the comment, it was a good match, but that's what we were expecting going in. So it never really jumped out. These guys somehow made it more than what you expected, and that's saying a lot, given the talent that was in this match.
Well, because, I mean, a lot of them had come over. I mean, let's see here. Rey Mysterio had come over from WCW. Same thing with Eddie Guerrero, even though Eddie came back pre... Oh, actually, I think they both came back prior to the invasion angle.
And Eddie, because Eddie had this stuff with China. And,
yeah.
But there was the Radicals.
Yeah.
With Perry Saturn and Dean Malenko.
The Radicals, yeah, that's right. But, yeah, no one really, I mean, because you had WCW guys in there. I don't think, I mean, yeah, Edge was a big deal by then.
And two, I mean, Benoit was too. Benoit might have been I want to say backlash back in the day against The Rock for a WWF title. So he had his moments too.
It's just when these guys were around each other, they knew how to make magic. They were able to just step up their game. They were very creative. Yeah, it's still, like I said, these matches still hold up today. You could watch this match and be just as entertained. It's not like you wouldn't watch this match and be like, oh, that was good for back in its time. Like, no, it's still a good match to today's standards.
Yeah. You know, absolutely.
Like, I always, whenever people refer to Randy Savage and Steamboat, I go back and I watch that match, but I'm more impressed by that match for the work rate they put in for their time. If you were to put that match on nowadays, it's a little sketchy, you know. Yeah. But this one would hold true today. Like, it would still get people hot today.
And there's so many things that you can just go back and talk about. There's a botch not long into the match where Ray pretty much got catapulted up to the top by Kurt, and he tried to hold his balance, and I guess he was going to do like a crossbody off of it. Mm-hmm. But he lost his balance and landed on his head.
Oh,
that was pretty painful. And there's just a great exchange of reversals by Kurt and Ray, and ended with enziguri by Ray. The crossface ankle lock combo that Edge was in before the belt shot.
Yeah, that was so. Oh man, yeah, no, Edge and Benoit hitting like dual submissions.
Eddie hit a frog splash, and this is one of them moments where you're like, what's the thinking here? But, you know, the match was so good, there's no need to bash it.
Right.
Eddie hit Edge with a frog splash and went for a pin, and Benoit broke it up with his diving headbutt.
Yeah, he broke it. He hit Ray with that because Ray was pinning him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ray went out with looked like a baseball slide, but somehow he turned it into a hurricanrana to Chavo.
Well, yeah, because Ray was the man. Back then, Ray could. He was, you know, like what Private Party does nowadays. Ray could hit a hurricanrana out of anywhere.
The sequence that ended with Edge hitting the spear on Benoit was just great too. Just the technical, just the preciseness of it. No, I mean, just so much.
Yeah, these guys are good, man. It's. Like I said, it goes without saying, if you're a current wrestling fan and you don't know much about them, you know you've heard the SmackDown 6. This match kind of encapsulates what these guys were able to do week in and week out. And it's not like this was the pinnacle of it either. This is just one of many, many great matches that these guys put on.
It's just, I mean, all six of them interacted so much in this time. You had Kurt versus Benoit rivalry they had some stuff after this too, but a lot of it was before where they were delivering bangers and stuff, just paired them together. Kind of like the Sheamus Cesaro.
Yeah.
The bar formation. You had Edge and Eddie's great rivalry in 02. And they had a no disqualification match on SmackDown. If you ain't went back and watched it, you should. I think it was September 16th, 02.
Jesus.
Somewhere around that. Well,
it was 17 years and I think like 6 months.
I'm just saying.
It was the second episode of Raw in May. It was just.
I'm just saying, if you want it, here, all right, we're gonna find out right now. Google.
Why you
Edge versus Eddie. No DQ.
While you're Googling that, I'll go over the post-match stuff. After the match, we had a in-ring segment. Christopher Nowinski, WWE's resident Harvard graduate.
I'm sorry, September 26th. I was close. I said 16th. Go back and watch this match. It's one of the best no disqualification TV matches you'll see. I mean, they had everything in it. But no, these guys are just gold. And remember Ray's debut? Ray's debut was against Kurt at SummerSlam this year. So you had that, and, he had some stuff with Benoit. It was just a great pairing all the way around.
That's good. That's awesome. You're like WWE's Rain Man.
Well, remember I told you I did go back not long, and I started to watch some of the Raw and SmackDowns in order.
That's true. No, that's true. I do remember you saying that now. So following the match, though, we had WWE's resident Harvard graduate Christopher Nowinski comes out, proceeds to run down the crowd. Very basic stuff here. It's just implying and flat out calling the New York audience stupid. We get Matt Hardy version 1 comes out from SmackDown because Nowinski's a Raw guy. And he's got the classic internet entrance where it shows like a very, very dated computer and search bar, and it's got the Matt facts that Matt Hardy doesn't like mustard and only drinks like low-fat chocolate milk, stupid stuff like that. But Matt Hardy comes out. He starts to run down Nowinski, but Swerve, he's only running down Nowinski because Nowinski is mistakenly calling the crowd stupid when in fact they're losers. And they kind of just have a promo off of who's correctly insulting the audience. Matt Hardy suggests to compromise and calls them, he combines stupid and losers. He calls them loopid. New York crowd is loopid. And I'm sorry, man. But I love Matt, but he's never done it for me on the mic outside of his broken persona. For some reason, his broken persona works, but any other persona, he's never done it for me. Well, other than also the Edge and Lita angle, but that was because that was like real, that was just that was
about as real as real gets in WWE, folks.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, as they ran down New York, we get the siren entrance, and it turns out we are getting a return of Scott Steiner. He's back in WWE. He just beats up both guys. Big Papa Pump's back. Were you ever into Scott Steiner?
Man, I haven't. I know you said you was big in WCW. I haven't been able to go back and watch much of it, so I wasn't impressed with his WWE run. He had that really disappointing match.
He never did it for me, man. That dude was a dud every time he was on my TV.
I know he had that really disappointing match with Triple H at the Royal Rumble right after this. When he came back, he was immediately jumped into the world title picture.
Oh yeah, they made it a huge deal. Like that was the big debut, like the big return of the night was Scott Steiner.
Had the arm wrestling contest and all that up in the build, but that match was just absolutely terrible. I kind of enjoyed. I don't know if I enjoyed the angle because the angle kind of sucked, but as far as I want to say his match against Test for the services of Stacy Keibler.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I forgot about that. So Stacy Keibler, I forgot all about the whole Test angle thing. Yes, yeah. Stacy said that she said. I know this is a little off top, but earlier in the night, Stacy was at a WWE owned restaurant where she introduced Saliva, the band who sing sang the theme song for Survivor Series '02. But anyway, she said that Test would have been here, but he's doing like a PR tour to greet all of his fans, the Testicles. And I forgot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, I forgot all about that. But yeah,
that match wasn't even the match I'm talking about wasn't even great. Like I wouldn't even give it 3 stars. It's one of them, 2.5 star matches. But that's about the best thing I remember of Steiner. Honestly, I mean, he just never really did it much for me.
Well, the Steiner brothers were a pretty good tag team, but they're definitely from a different era. You know what I mean? They definitely feel like 70s and 80s wrestlers. They always struck me as old. And granted, no, I'm watching them as a child, so they're obviously going to be perceived as old anyways. But I will say one thing, though. Scott Steiner, I mean, he had the Frankensteiner, and that's where that name came from. And I don't know how the hell he could do those top rope hurricanranas, but...
Yeah, like if you look up disappointing match, him and Triple H pops up near the top list. It was pretty bad.
I'll if I'm in the mood to torture myself, I'll watch it later.
Yeah, 03 Royal Rumble. You gotta watch that mess.
Got you. So following this was the main event of the night, the debut of the...
I know what you do. Watch that match first, and then watch the tag match I referenced to earlier. You gonna bet heavy.
Okay. Taking place in, what'd they say, like 10 tons of steel, 2 miles of chain. We got the introduction of the debuting Elimination Chamber match. Very, very more brutal inception. The original inception of the Chamber is way more brutal than what's currently out now, because the side, everything is steel. They don't have no mats like nowadays. And I'm not talking about it like nowadays they're wimps or anything. How they're doing it is just. Back then, it was like, hey, we want this thing to be as brutal as possible. So there's going to be no give anywhere.
They wasn't.
No.
Oh, man. That was brutal.
The outside
It was one of my favorite matches back in the day, though.
Yeah? Oh, I could definitely see that. But the outside apron is completely steel. The pods are basic pods. It's the plexiglass style. It always made me chuckle because bulletproof. Yeah, exactly.
Get it right, Kyle. It's bulletproof.
Oh my god. Yeah, and then it's just steel beams and steel link chain, man.
Not cane proof though. Not cane proof.
Not cane proof, no, man. But yeah, so this match was very good. I think everybody except Kane bled. I want to say. Maybe even RVD?
He bled, man. It was just under the mask. You couldn't see it.
Under the mask, yeah. Triple H was almost killed in the match. Like legit shoot killed. When Rob Van Dam hit the frog splash, RVD's knee came down onto Triple H's throat. And
broke his trachea.
See, I looked up and a lot of things... I get different results. I get some things saying that it broke his trachea. Other articles just claim that his esophagus just swelled up.
Well, if you go back, and I know some people listen, some don't, but Bruce Pritchard's podcast, Something to Wrestle With, they covered this, and he even said it was a trachea. Yeah. So
they said really what it really hurt in the match, and you couldn't tell going back and watching it because the match is damn near flawless. Is before the match, behind the scenes, the guys got together and they couldn't iron out the match, so the majority of the match was called on the fly. Back then, Triple H was known as the ring general, and he was known that he could dictate a match in the ring. Well, when RVD's knee came down on his throat, that took him out for the majority of the match, and also he had trouble talking, so he couldn't really communicate, spots that well. And so they really were working handicapped here and still managed to pull off a banger of a match. Did you know that the guys didn't come out in order that they were supposed to?
I think I remember hearing something about that. I can't remember the specific.
Yeah, Kane was supposed to have come out last, and but it ended up being Shawn Michaels. So what they had to do was on the fly, the spot where Chris Jericho gets tossed through the pod, that was Chris Jericho calling it to eat up time. He had Kane throw him there just so they could go ahead, and like I said, eat time off the clock and milk the match out further because it messed up stuff they had planned with Kane being the final entrant out. Yep. But
And also, if you go back and watch this, if you wonder what the hell Shawn Michaels was wearing, his gear was not finished.
okay,
It's the ugliest trunk you ever see, but it was unfinished gear.
I will say Shawn Michaels looked the worst I've ever seen. I prefer bald Michaels over the shoulder length cut hair that he had.
Yeah,
And
Bruce Pritchard talks about that in that podcast. It just wasn't finished. People weren't able to fish it in time, and Shawn was like, "I wear it anyway." So,
yeah. Shawn Michaels looked like a hot mess to me, man. Like he really did. It's like Shawn.
those trunks were ugly.
Yeah, I said that and his hair. Like I said, his hair stood out to me more than the damn trunks. Now I noticed the trunks. Now, don't get me wrong, I noticed the trunks. But yeah. So a quick rundown of the eliminations. You had RVD got the pin on Booker T for the first elimination. No. Excuse me. Rob Van Dam was pinned by Booker T. Excuse me. Rob Van Dam was actually the first man out. Chris Jericho then went on to pin Booker T and Kane in succession. Shawn Michaels was able to super kick Chris Jericho's face off, and then also super kick Triple H's face off. And the finish of the match too between Shawn and Triple H was 100% improvised, called on the spot. Which, looking back now, you can kind of tell because it was kind of a basic finish. You had Shawn Michaels build up the crowd, doing the classic like stomping in the corner for Sweet Chin Music. Triple H hits him with a pedigree. Shawn Michaels kicks out, gets back up, and then hits Sweet Chin Music for the finish. Confetti rains down, and MSG just has a hell of a good moment, man, in Survivor Series.
Very fun match, man. I mean, just a brutalness of it. Like you said, there's no give in the stretcher. And Triple H being the first to figure it out with a backdrop. And you can just hear it. You can just hear it. It gets busted.
At one point, it was Triple H and Chris Jericho teaming up on RVD, and they would sling RVD backwards into the chain link fence, or the chains rather. It's not chain link fence. It's just gridded chains. But at one point, they threw RVD, like on the second or third time they did it, they threw him into the post. I want to say by mistake, because the look on RVD's face when he hit it, that was a legit, like, he stumbled forward. Like, you could tell, like, that legit hurt him so bad. Oh, man.
In this match, it really made everybody look good. If you had to pick one guy that didn't make it look good, I guess it'd be Booker T. He never really had any moments that jumped out. But RVD, he had that proud splash at, almost give Triple H. He had a rolling thunder going outside the ring on the step.
Yeah, because RVD is just a madman.
He became Spider-Man. He does that. He jumps from the turnbuckle into the chains and then jumps out of that for a cross body. So, he turned into Spider-Man. And, of course, Jericho
being the
opportunist. A lot of the match.
Yeah.
He controlled a lot of the match after Triple H was down. Kane was protected. It took Sweet Chin Music, a pedigree, and a lion salt to pin him.
Yep.
So, all 5 out of 6 guys looked real good coming out.
Chris Jericho also was donning that awesome goatee ponytail. He had the rubber bands on the goatee. Oh Jesus, that thing! I was like, how does he make that stuff look cool, man? I was like, he does. But
there's a lot of people went through pods as well. Y2J did.
Chris Jericho looked brutal. Chris looked brutal put through that. He's been put through pods on a couple times. He got speared by Goldberg through a pod.
Oh God, Goldberg killed him.
Yeah. Chris Jericho, just stumbling into history. Not only was he part of the first Elimination Chamber match, he was also part of the first Money in the Bank match too. So you
He
have
created that match.
kayfabe. Or no, he did. He did create that match.
Yeah.
That's right. But he wanted it to be, what was it? The award was different. It was like make your dreams match. Like essentially, a wrestler could make any demand they want. And it would.
I thought he just created the match outright. I didn't know.
No,
that.
he created the match. Just the reward was changed. Like his idea, I think it was like dreams come true match or something like that. Where, and I think what he was going to use it for, his idea was like, I think if he won, he got to challenge somebody at WrestleMania. But they liked the idea of the match, just not the reward, and then they decided to go with the contract, which obviously was the better idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Chris Jericho stumbling into history on several occasions. One of the most all-time winningest Intercontinental champions with 9 title reigns, I want to say, or 10. No, it's 9. It's 9. Yeah, because right now him and Miz are tied for the most title reigns. I want to say. I know Miz is like, I constantly say this, Miz is less than a month away holding the Intercontinental title to have held the belt longer than any other champion in combined reigns. And that includes the Honky Tonk Man. Jesus. But, yeah,
He's
man.
awesome.
So, going from 2002 to 2019, where's all these wrestlers? Triple H is involved in this year's SummerSlam as the SummerSlam Survivor Series. Thank you. As pretty much, the dad of NXT. Shawn Michaels is also involved as a trainer for the NXT roster members. Who else from the main event? What's Booker T? Two-time Hall of Famer, two-time Hall of Famer, commentating. He'll be on the kickoff show probably for the event.
He hosts the backstage show they got.
Yeah. RVD is over there in Impact, so he's not going to be present.
Kane's a mayor.
Yeah, Kane's over there running Knoxville County. Yeah, and Triple H is your current AEW World Champion. Just so crazy. Oh my God, man. What about everyone else, man? What about everyone else? We got Rico as a cop. Bubba Ray is doing his own thing in other promotions. Devon's a producer, I think.
Kidman's a producer. Jamie's a producer.
Yeah, Jamal. I don't know what Jamal's doing. Of course, Rosie.
Edge got forced out.
Yeah. Although Edge actually is working for WWE now. He's doing something with them backstage. Because he quit his podcast. And
Ray still wrestles. Kurt just wrapped up wrestling.
Well, Ray's in the title match.
Yeah.
Against Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is going in as champion twice. He went in as champ in Survivor Series 02, and he's going, oh my God, the world champion. Yeah.
Now, I can't remember what the stat is, but God, I'm trying to remember the year. I want to say like 26 years or 27. It's almost 30 years. If Big Show does not have a match this year, it'll be the first time in like 25 plus years or something he hasn't wrestled in.
Like for the calendar year. Yeah, that is nuts. So he's wrestled consistently every year.
Yeah.
Of his career. Wow. No, I didn't realize that. Did you know that Shawn Michaels, when he that night, that was the last singles title Shawn would hold in WWE. He would only go on to win, I think, tag team championship after this. But that was the last time Shawn Michaels ever held any singles championship in WWE. It was back then in 2002. It's crazy. You would think he won a belt again at some point, but he didn't, man.
And when we talked about Big Show losing it, he actually lost it the same night as Big Show in the 3 Stages of Hell match against Triple H.
Yeah, that's right. Shawn Michaels also, this was his second match back since the initial retirement for the back issues. And this was also his first appearance in Survivor Series in 5 or 6 years. They said, I think the last Survivor Series I want to say he was in before '02 was Survivor Series 97. So that was another reason why they made such a big deal about it, was because, you go back a year from the event and Shawn Michaels had been retired for many years. And now only on his second match back with the company, he captured world gold again. And you could see it in his face. In the first Elimination Chamber too, as well. The look on his face, man, he looked genuinely touched. As he was thanking the crowd, it looked like a really big deal to him, man.
I mean, absolutely. I know Sean, there's so many stories before his injury about how Sean was and stuff, but by all accounts, anybody you've talked to or anybody that's made a comment about it, when he came back, he was a changed man.
Yeah, he was.
He found, his Christian faith. Good for him on that. He's just totally different.
Oh man, we had who else we have in here? That we had. Let's see, Earl Hebner. He's doing his thing over in AEW, excuse me. Tony Chimmel and Howard Finkel, they were the ring announcers. Oh, man.
Trish just wrestled at SummerSlam.
Yeah, she did. We had Tara Reynolds and Jonathan Coachman as interviewers. Michael Cole had just graduated to commentator, probably not too long before the event. Because Jeff
Hardy just wrestled probably 3-4 months ago was his last match before the injury. So
yeah, he's been wrestling with the Law as of late.
Taz. There's a rumor going out there that WWE has no plans to bring him back. So
I mean, he's in the headlines too much, to be honest with you. And yeah, Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were both commentators. Jerry Lawler's still doing it on Raw, and Jim Ross over on AEW, man. Yeah, a lot of these guys, man, 17 years ago, still around. I think the most impressive thing is Brock Lesnar. Walked in as champ then and is walking in as champ here. And his opponent, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, wrestled on the O2 event as well. So that's pretty neat that both that one of the championship matches that we're having this year, both participants took place in the O2 show, and one of them was world champion then too. So that's pretty cool, man. But can't wait to watch it. You guys, that's our show. Make sure to tune in later this week. We've got Raw. We've got...
we got so many shows for you to know.
We got prediction episodes. Of course, we're going to be doing something a little different this week with AEW and NXT. I think myself and you, Seb, are going to host a super show where we cover both of them in one episode. And then, of course, we have our 100th episode coming up as well. We're going to go over... I guess some memories or something. We'll do something special for the 100th episode.
We're just going to be like some guys out in the bar, just
shooting the breeze.
Talking about the reminiscing.
Reminiscing over the long running of our show that started in May. Oh, man. And then, of course, this week...
100 shows, though.
100 episodes, man. 100 shows.
We put in the work since May.
Yes, we did.
I have since June or something. I came in late, but...
But also, don't forget, at the end of the week, we'll have, of course, SmackDown, NXT's War Games, and, of course, the whole reason we did this episode, Survivor Series, will top off our crazy week. But thank you guys for joining us. Until next time, man. Have a good one.
The boyhood dream has come true.